All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Future of Derivatives podcast. I'm Rosalie. I'm from Panoptic. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm joined today with Casey from Euphoria. So, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here with you. It's been a while. We haven't caught up in a bit.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely been a busy time for you, I think. You're launching your protocol. We're also working on relaunching right now, so we've been quite busy as well. And yeah, just lots of things to plan for the future. But I'm glad you're here with me today. And yeah, I have lots of questions to ask you. So.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Happy to come chit chat.
Cool. So I kind of want to dive into the full story of how you got into crypto, what your background was, what you were doing before, and yeah, just start with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I got into crypto initially, like very loosely. I got into crypto in like 2014, 2015, doing things that you're not really supposed to be doing. I was using Bitcoin via like dark web kind of things. So that was my first exposure to the space. I didn't really know what Bitcoin was. I didn't know it was an investable asset class. I was just like being a shithead whenever I was young. And so in 2017, whenever Bitcoin actually started to, we had that first like major pump, was when I started to pay attention a little bit more. I realized I had made some money because I had some Bitcoin laying around. And then my interest was really, really peaked in the space in like 2020, 2021 was really when I went full time into crypto, whenever DeFi started popping off and there was a lot of interesting stuff that started happening. So prior to this, like I had always been a trader, and like my pre-crypto life, I was working in commercial real estate, and so that's kind of like where I come from, is that world. But we started a crypto education company before like DeFi Summer, before like all of this stuff happened, in an effort to try and like make this stuff approachable to people and try and help people understand. And so I think for many, many years, I've been kind of an explainer person and teaching people about crypto and trying to just make it more accessible to people. And so that's, I come from kind of like an education and trading background is where I come from. But yeah, I've been around the block a few times, and yeah, I mean, couldn't imagine my life in any other industry.
Nice. Yeah, I feel the same way. When I got into crypto as well, I didn't know it was like, I didn't know you could work in there, and I didn't know like really what was going on. We were doing like class experiments where we would go on the dark web in college and like same stuff. I never really made much money with Bitcoin, though. I was a little late, but that's okay.
In fairness, I will say I sold most of my Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin that I had from the earliest days. I thought I was a genius investor because I sold a lot of it in 2017, thinking I was, making the greatest trade of all time. Didn't take the initiative to learn, like, okay, why has this thing exploded? I was just, thinking I'd stumbled upon a bunch of free money, but not realizing like, oh, I should actually pay attention to this. And so then afterwards, I started to care a lot more.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, so I guess you've been a founder before, and you've been on this education road for a long time. What kind of changed recently where you were inspired to launch Euphoria, and why did you kind of change your scope of work there recently?
Yeah. So like I said, I come from kind of a trading and education background. My focus has been like my personal trading, and then people is where I come in. And then my co-founders, Nathan and Johnny, they come from the land of algorithmic trading and MEV, and that's the world that they exist in. And when the three of us met, it's funny, actually, the three of us meeting, a big part of our conversation initially was Panoptic. We were talking about options on chain, and we were talking about, I had just had a conversation with Guillaume recently before this conversation with them. And we were talking about derivatives, and actually, like, no pun intended, we were talking about the future of derivatives. And I was explaining Panoptic. I was saying like how it's a protocol that I really like. And I was just, I think that Guillaume is somebody who actually got me to care about LPs many years ago. I think like Guillaume was the first person that I saw describe in depth the way that he did LPs as options. And so I credit a lot of my success in life to him for getting me to care about LPing early on. And so he really reframed my thinking around these things. And so it's kind of a side tangent, but yeah. So when I met my co-founders, we were talking about options, we were talking about perps, talking about different types of derivatives, and kind of like my thoughts around where they were going to go, and they were talking about their thoughts around where they were going to go, and they were talking about when I met Nathan, he was like, I have all of these fun ideas for interesting UX for derivatives, and like you're thinking about these things, we were thinking about these things, and it was kind of a rest is history type of thing where we ended up working together, and then here is Euphoria now.
Nice. Okay. And why did you choose Mega ETH as your chain to launch?
I think that I like the thesis of Mega. It is, it's a hyper performant L2. It is, they're taking they're taking speed to its logical conclusion by hyper optimizing for it, with being an L2 architecture. You're removing the consensus overhead, and you're inheriting the security of the L1 of Ethereum, obviously. And so for us, I think that a hyper performant L2 is exactly what we need for a product like this, where you need things to be ridiculously fast, you need things to be ridiculously cheap. And I liked when I met the Mega team, whenever Nathan had already been talking to Mega whenever I had met him. We were really drawn to the people. We were drawn to not only the Mega team themselves, but the builders that are on the chain, people who are thinking differently, trying to, come up with new ideas and trying to innovate in the space and not just copy paste the same, Uniswap fork, Aave fork 8,000 times on 8,000 chains. It was like these people are actually trying to not only just innovate, but bring new users, like net new users on chain. And additionally, trying to kind of revive that 2021 feeling where people are innovating. There's new stuff that's exciting. Like there's new things that are going on. So we were stoked about the ecosystem. We were stoked about the people. They've been super supportive to us. And so, I think it was a good fit.
Okay, cool. Do you have any insights to when Mega ETH is gonna launch?
Yeah, so in a single digit number of weeks is when Mega's going to launch, is what I can say. I can't give like a date or anything, but Mega's launching, I guess, a double digit number of days, a single digit number of weeks is when Mega will be launching. So
okay, perfect timing for ETH Denver, I guess. That's going to be very exciting. How are you kind of thinking about competing with other derivatives? What do you see? What has worked that other people have done, or what hasn't really worked, and what are you kind of going to be doing differently?
Yeah, I look at us, at the end of the day, it'd be naive to say that we're not competitive with other derivatives because, our space is small, as we all know. And so inherently, you're all competing for the same dollars to a certain extent. A dollar on Euphoria is part of a dollar that somebody would have had somewhere else, or it's a dollar that somebody would have had somewhere else until we have more and more net new users. And so, but I don't look at us as being like directly competitive to something like Panoptic or Derive or Deribit or Hyperliquid, right? I think it's a different experience. Now, will you have an overlap of user base? Yes, of course. But I think that our approach is very different. I think that, a lot of people are taking more of a traditional approach to derivatives and what that looks like and what that expression is kind of, what it's expressed as. And so for us, it's very different. It's like, what if we can make this thing fun and we can kind of abstract the derivatives entirely away? For Euphoria, people don't actually realize what's going on under the hood. They don't know if it's perps or options. They just know that they have some kind of levered exposure to this thing where they're going to receive some kind of asymmetric payoff. And so for us, it's like we wanted to bring the pump fun feeling to blue chips, right? It's like, how do we capture this energy and this momentum of people they want fun, they want fast, they want, again, asymmetric upside. They want like this levered exposure to these things. But I think that there's ways that we can try this and experiment so that it's maybe a little bit more equitable for people in that, somebody's not going to bundle the supply of something and then dump it on you, or, you're not having prices manipulated. You're not, just things like that, right? And so I think, perps are a very simple instrument for people to understand because they're directional, right? You think it's going to go up, you go long. You think it's going to go down, you go short. And it's very simple for people to understand. So I think that with things like options and more complex derivatives, there's a lot of prerequisite knowledge that goes into these things and kind of like structuring an options payoff and things like that. So for us, we were like, what if we abstract all of that away and we just visualize it? Like, what if we just make it into a box that you can actually see and you can just tap that box? And so that's kind of the thesis for Euphoria. So again, I don't really look at us as like direct competitors to anybody. We're kind of adjacent, but I think that it's the fun crowd. It's like the fast fun trader that is going to be super interested in the first iteration of Euphoria on the lower timeframes. And then from there, there's a lot of growth to come.
Yeah. Are you thinking of kind of letting people learn these complex things as well? Are you going to have any like resources on it, or is it just fully abstracted? And do you think there comes a time eventually, once people are, more comfortable trading options, that they would have to learn about like gamma or delta or whatever, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that when you go out to higher timeframes, I think when we're talking about options specifically, for me to kind of dig deeper onto the visualized options payoff thing that I had mentioned before. For me, the reason that I like options is because I can kind of visualize payoffs in my head, and I think Panoptic does a good job of this on the UX. But I think that for people, like options are a very unapproachable topic because they can't see it. Like they just in their head, like all of the math, it doesn't create some kind of like picture for them as to what's happening. Whereas again, like a perp, it's like, okay, up this, down this, like you can just kind of see that very simply. And I think the people that like options, this is just kind of like my own thesis or opinion, is that you kind of can visualize these things in your head of like, what does that structure actually look like? And so I think that yes, when we get to these higher timeframes where you're trading on, minutes to hours to days, then yeah, being able to understand like, okay, this is a representation of the relationship between price and time, and where kind of the payoff comes from is you're pricing in like the forward probability plus historic volatility of XYZ. I think that you can explain these things in a way that's not using language that people aren't familiar with either. I think you can kind of abstract away some of the Greeks, and I think you can really, really simplify these things. So yeah, I think that it's crucial, but I think that it can be done differently than it has been.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree. I think from personally me talking to Guillaume and having my trading show with him, I've learned a lot, but it's definitely taken a long time. And I worked at Panoptic before we even did the trading show, and I was still not 100%. And maybe after like 5 months or so, I like finally I really got it. But I don't think the average person is, first of all, going to have a one-on-one tutor with Guillaume, and second of all, they don't want to do it. It's just a lot of work. And so I think abstracting that and making it more fun and accessible is definitely what we need. We're trying to do that with Vault.
Yeah.
But I've seen, Risk Finance do it successfully as well, with how they kind of shape things in terms of you're either going to receive the same amount of ETH or you're going to get some USDC. So like you're never really losing because you're either getting ETH, which you believe in, or you're making USDC. And I think people, when they don't feel like they're losing anything, I think that's a powerful message.
Yeah, I think too, on social media, there's been a lot of buzz lately around like storytelling for companies. Like we need better storytelling. We need, we need to speak about these things better. And I think that, you guys have done a good job of talking about this. I know Guillaume in particular, like he's always tweeting and breaking down like the benefits to the user of like, look, if you would just pay attention to this stuff, here's what you can get out of it, especially around the things that you're already doing, like when you're LPing or when you're making certain trades or whatever. And so I think that, we've had like these perp dex metas and we've had like these meme coin metas and whatever. But I think if you told a perp trader, like, look, at the end of the day, you can be directionally correct trading perps and get liquidated, which you have a million times because, now that we've had this quote perp dex meta, like people are learning, oh, perps aren't free money. And they're realizing risk management and they're realizing, whatever it might be. But I think that what they might find interesting is if you took the time to learn about options, in many cases, in the times that you were directionally correct and you were wrong for 5 minutes and you got liquidated trading perps, you would have been profitable in an option. Like you these positions would have saved you from what it is that you're doing, and you would have had similar payoff structures and whatever it might be. But I don't know. I think that we can tell better stories around these, and we can get the degen to like be open to this thing a little bit more if we just talk about it in the right way. And so I don't know. I hope to see people open to options more because they're just such a great product.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote a little piece on that liquidation problem as well. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like people have become so familiar with perps that they really just aren't giving options a try, and definitely gotta change that. So hopefully Euphoria will do that. You're targeting retail traders mostly, right? And so how do you kind of see the retail versus institutional traders evolving in derivatives, and why are you choosing to bet on retail this time?
Yeah, I think that retail is it's an interesting subset of people, right? It's people who have very short attention spans. It's people who have tons and tons and tons of options, whereas institutions are limited to a certain number of things because of liquidity constraints or because of XYZ that might come with it. So retail has way more options. No pun intended. But I think that retail, it's a fun subset to build for. I think you can get super, super expressive and super, super creative, and you can take things from Web2, whether it be games or whether it be like different experiences that they have. And I think that for us, betting on retail is not only, it's fun, right? Like it's fun to build a consumer product for retail users. But additionally, like that's how we get more people involved in the space, is if we can build something that somebody who has no idea about crypto thinks is fun to do, then we grow the pie. And I think that the ultimate success case for Euphoria, I guess actually not even the ultimate success case, but we have failed if we haven't done this, where if I put Euphoria into the hands of one user and that doesn't translate to it going to more than one person, like if there's not exponential growth via one person being exposed to this app, then we haven't done our job properly, because it should be something where I show it to you, you think it's really cool and fun, you show it to your friends the same way that you would like a really fun game that you'd found in Web2 or whatever it might be that you're using. So
Yeah.
I guess I think for us, honestly, it's retail's fun. Like that's kind of the end answer.
And yeah, you mentioned kind of what it wouldn't look like to succeed. What is kind of your North Star? Are you looking to recreate something like Robinhood, where they achieved, getting retails to try options, or are you kind of looking just to make it fun? Like, is that it, or what's your North Star?
Yeah, I mean, it is similar. We were very inspired by Robinhood because what they did with options, right, is they simplified this complex financial concept. They made it accessible. They made it intuitive. They got you and your friends to care about it, and it has succeeded wildly, right? And then you look at things like apps like Candy Crush that they're doing $100 million a month in revenue, and you're like, that's crazy, because you're just literally like tapping on the screen. And so we kind of have combined the thesis of all of these things of like, okay, what if we can actually build a fun app that just happens to be a fun app that runs on crypto rails? Like, we don't just want to be a quote crypto app. I think that that's a very myopic viewpoint of what this space has to offer. I think that like crypto rails should be used far beyond just being like a quote crypto app. So I guess for us, it's like we want people to think of Euphoria as like, oh, this fun app Euphoria, and then like realizing later it happens to run on crypto rails, not like, oh, it's some crypto app that I had to like figure out 800 steps to be able to use and all of that. So I think that's our North Star, is like, I want my my normie friends and my family and people on the street. I want to be able to like walk on the street and ask 10 people to try the app and then be able to use it from scratch. That's the North Star.
Okay. Yeah. And earlier you mentioned that like people won't really know if it's perps or if it's options. And so also with this idea of like perps being you're easier to be liquidated and stuff, are there ways, like, are you optimizing this based on what the user wants to achieve, or is it kind of just random? Like, can people choose to just do options or just do perps, or is it all kind of hidden?
Yeah, great question. So for this, the tap trading experience in particular that we're going to market with first, the grid with the squares, it is options under the hood. So the positions there, it's somewhere between kind of a barrier option and a binary option is how it works. And so that's not something that the user can choose. That's just kind of how the math works on the back end. That's how the protocol runs. But when I say like in the future, we want things to be abstracted away, like we will have additional experiences that will be powered by perps, things that will be powered by different types of derivatives. It's just that ultimately the user shouldn't have to care about, when you look at Euphoria today, you don't need to understand options math. You you look at it and you don't even realize that it could be options, it could be perps, it could be whatever it might be. And so that's kind of what I meant by that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. How do you kind of use marketing and crypto Twitter to push your product further? And are you seeing any of the recent algorithm changes on crypto Twitter kind of like making this more difficult, or what are you kind of doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's been really fun over the past few months with Euphoria, to leak this out and show like little snippets of the product here and there, and I think people get excited, and then it gets shared, and we've had a couple of pretty viral moments that have gotten a few million views, and so that's been good. It's fun. I think the cool part for me about something like Twitter is that we exist in such a small bubble, and you see when a post goes viral, it leaving your bubble. You start to see like the conversation change, and you start to see when you're on like FinTwit, right? Like finance Twitter. And then you see when you're kind of on like normie Twitter, like you realize the conversation completely changes when you go from like one bubble to the next as it goes more and more viral. So I think that we had a couple of those over the past couple of months, but I really noticed the algorithm change like the past 2 weeks. I mean, last week, like I couldn't even see crypto content unless I explicitly went to like my following page and was looking at people's content. I swear, like my For You page had almost no crypto content on it, which was strange. It was like, it was just gone. Like, everybody joked about Nikita nuking crypto Twitter, but I really felt like it was just kind of gone. It was like, this is strange. But yeah, I mean, I think CT has changed a lot, right? With the introduction of Kaido and like Yap farming and like the AI slop and things. I think that the past year, crypto Twitter has definitely changed more than it ever has in the past. And I don't necessarily think for the better. I think that, it was higher quality the past, 10 years relative to this past year. Has it impacted our marketing per se? I think yes and no. I think that like, maybe the types of conversations that are happening are a bit more shallow than what they would have been a few years ago. I think people would have cared to dig a little bit more and ask about the protocol, and we'd be having more like technical discussions. And now it's like wow, GambleFi, or like, wow, like look at this thing. It's just kind of shallow conversations.
Yeah, I've seen that definitely change in the last week for sure. I still get all my crypto Twitter, but I'm glad I wasn't exposed to normie normie Twitter. I don't even know what that would be. I'm happy seeing all my ticker Bitcoin memes and all this
In
stuff.
fairness, it might be. I got really sick a couple weeks ago, so it might be that I was on, cooking Twitter and like interior design, and like, I was not in work mode. I was in shut my brain off mode there for a few days. I was, dead on the couch. So
Oh, yeah, I know how that goes. For this kind of gamifying experience that you're going to be providing users, how do you see gamification kind of progressing in crypto and evolving? And what's the difference between just like having a game like on Pok Pok, they have like an options game with chickens, and kind of what just being gamified means to you?
yeah, I think that we have a very specific view of what gamified means to us at like internally at Euphoria. And this is something I've talked about a few times, but I think it's important to talk about is I think that there's a fine line between gamifying to make something accessible and to make it fun and create an entertaining experience, and over gamifying to the point where it's, kind of dismissed as childlike or as a game and not necessarily a trading product. So for us, it was really important that we treaded that line very carefully, where, you see there's two ways that people kind of see themselves in the space. There's a lot of ways people see themselves in the space, but in the context of this conversation, you see yourself as a trader or as a gambler, right? And so traders are going to use certain types of products. Gamblers are going to use certain types of products. And in many cases, the gamblers will use the traders' products for free. Like gamblers they'll gamble on Hyperliquid. Traders won't trade on like a hyper gamified app that's like, way too gamified for them. So this is not at all to knock this product. I think it's actually a really, really cool product, but There's a product called road tracing on Abstract. I really like it. I think it's a really fun concept. It's a fun expression of leverage. It's like these cockroaches that race around a track. To me, I think that it feels a little bit over gamified for the person who sees themselves as a trader, right? And again, this is all just kind of like how how people hold themselves in their minds. But I think for us, it's like we want to skate this line of appealing to both of these crowds where, we can have professional traders come trade on the API because it's a really interesting expression of derivatives. But you also have just kind of the normal, either like casual trader who there's different use cases for. Like for me, for example, I'm actually not somebody who's like right now in particular in my life, I'm not like a, tap on Euphoria type of person, but I like it for specific use cases for myself. So for me, it's like I need to kill some time in the back of an Uber, and this is like a really fun thing to do. Or the FOMC meeting is on and I don't want to be caught off sides in a perp position. So I'm going to open up Euphoria, wait for the news to break, and I'm going to tap, like along with whatever the price is happening. Right. So I think that you can make products to appeal to both types of people that will use it in different ways. But I think that there is a case of over gamification where you lose a whole subset of people.
Definitely. I guess the goal was probably just to attract new users who weren't traders before, because people who don't trade are more likely to trade if it's a game, maybe. And that's kind of the thesis. But I think it's important to figure out a way to have a product be more versatile and target different people. I think that's great. I was looking through your docs and everything before our live stream to get more insights of how your product works, and I realized that there really isn't a lot of information out there yet, and I'm wondering if you're planning on revealing some of the technical details and educational things, or you're just gonna kind of maybe do that later and just really start with this fun tapping experience only and not tell them anything.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely will. We'll put all. It's there's reasons that you do and don't do this. Like for right now, it's it's kind of a bit of a technical moat that we have where it's not the front end that's hard to build of Euphoria, it's the exchange that's the hard part to build. So until we're live and until we have some traction, that's something that there's no sense in giving the competitors the blueprint. They can figure it out or not, and so that's part of it, as well as in the future, you do want to put that stuff out there. One, for people's just curiosity as to how it works. I want to understand the things that I'm using. And two, I think, again, it's a very interesting, it's a new type of option, basically, is what the exchange is doing. And so it's kind of like I don't know, I think it'll appeal to even people who might not find tap trading interesting for themselves. Maybe that's not the type of trading they do. I think that there's a technical crowd that will find the actual exchange very, very interesting under the hood. So yeah, you do put this stuff out eventually so people understand it and people trust you and these things. But additionally, you can't give away the recipe too soon.
That makes sense. Yeah. For the gamified structure, what are kind of the incentives you've thought about using that are going to make trading and tap trading even more exciting for people on Euphoria?
Yeah, so we have, there's different fun modes. You and I could join into a session together. I could send you an invite to join into Tap Trade Against Me on Euphoria, and we can join into a session together, and I can see your taps on my screen. And we can either kind of trade with or against each other. And so there's kind of game modes. Ultimately, this is slated to be the Mario Party of derivatives is what our goal is here. And I'll definitely invite you. We're going to have a launch party here in New York City, and we'll do live in-person tap trading where we're trading together, and it'll be a lot of fun. And so, for us, we want this to be a social thing. We want it to be, I think that, trading crypto is inherently social. It is something that we're doing in group chats. It's something that we're doing. There's a reason that we all exist on crypto Twitter. It's because it's a social environment. And I think that focusing on some of these social features is really important where, an app that does a great job of this is like FOMO. You can see what your friends are doing. You can see like what that person's thesis was. You see when they win, you see when they get wrecked. And it's like, it's this fun emotional experience. And so it's something similar with Euphoria, where like, we want it to be social and we want it to be something that you want to do with other people. And you have a good time doing it by yourself. But so that's like some of the incentives will go to some of this, like, the fun stuff, the trading competitions, that. And then, little like random fun things that we'll throw in there too, like almost Minesweeper style. You hit the right square, you're going to get a bonus. Like you hit whatever, things like that. So I think as far as incentives go, there's a lot of fun design space that can be done here.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds exciting. I'll definitely come to try it out. And that trading competition sounds really fun. And maybe I can onboard some of my normie friends as well to start trading with me. It's great chatting with you. I think I'm really excited for your launch, and definitely will stay tuned to see what's coming next. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me today and chatting with me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you to everybody who is listening. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being here. And yeah, always enjoyed chatting with you, and big fan of Panoptic and super excited to see what you guys have coming out with the V2. So
yeah.
see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
All right.